Yeah.
Now, how true to a real incident is the game? I mean, on a certain level, my definition, by the way, and I do a fair amount of IR over the years, and I build and run SOCs, and I do a lot of staffing of SOC people. And one of the questions is always like, how do you categorize incidents? And I've come to realize that the category of the alert or the incident is determined by what kind of help you need. And you have a cyber incident when you have a war room. You don't have a war room because you have a cyber incident. And so if you sort of flip that, the needs of the organization determine the prioritization, not the other way around. So we get rid of all that abstraction. But in a game, like it's funny. I like to say in backdoors and breaches, someone will inevitably say like, well, what if it's a false positive? What if it's not really? I'm like, it's backdoors and breaches, not backdoors and false positives. We know because we've started playing something's up, and we're gonna the smoking gun has appeared when we invited you. A gun on the table in a checkout play. The question of realism does come into it, and if it's a little too real, it's boring. These things can go on for hours, days, weeks. You have to compress it. The skill levels are whatever they are, whatever they show up with. And you may be dealing with people who've never talked to each other before, have no relationship, and don't even know how to have a conversation. So you have all the sort of like, in the initial sort of like, what are the power relationships here? It turns out like there have been experiments done where you come up with some kind of challenge, usually it was one with like straws and making towers with straws. And if you give it to a group of 5-year-olds, they will get it done and they will make something that's great and they'll do it quickly and easily. You give it to a bunch of adults, and they spend half the time like putting on the table and measuring it before they get anything done. And then they produce what? Something that was created by a committee of people who are trying not to piss each other off. Like how do you work with like that kind of like warm up stuff? And how do people change as the game goes on? And what I really want to get to is before the game, what do you have? After the game, how has life changed for these